Generally in Africa, there's a word called Ubuntu. I am because you are. Because you are, I am. In Africa, you just feel that vibration, even when people are talking. Hey, come on, hey. I think sound is really, it's a, core ingredient of the universe. If I say Shanti, I was born in South Africa, and we've been in South Africa for 3 generations. My great-grandfather didn't immigrate to South Africa. He was taken there by the British in 1860. Many people were taken, especially from UP and South India, to South Africa. So that's how we landed up in South Africa. But having said that, as I'm growing older, my sense of identity is diminishing. I don't want to restrict myself to an identity of being born here, grow up there, learn there. So I like to see myself as a citizen of this planet. But I did grow up in South Africa, and where you grow up does influence, many aspects of your life. So generally in Africa, it's like there's a word called Ubuntu. I am because you are. Because you are, I am. And you see that in practice. It's not a cold philosophical thought. You see that in practice. You walk into a shop and you meet an elderly African person, you greet her, and if you see her 2 weeks later, she'll shout from the back of the shop and say, "Hey, how are you doing? I saw you 2 weeks ago." And when you cross people in the street, people greet you, and it's just not a cold greeting, it's a genuine feeling. How are you? It's not how are you because it's a courtesy. It's not a courtesy, it's a sense of humanity. So that part of Africa left a lasting impression on me, and so. But also I want to mention that, we come from, like I spoke Bhojpuri growing up. Although it's a diluted Bhojpuri. My grandfather especially used to play dholak and sing Bhojpuri songs. I mean, if you look at the whole of creation, the whole of universe is based on sound, right? It's based on vibration. So sound is existential. Everything began, even our language began with sound. If you imagine, like, people starting languages, how did it begin? With sound. I don't know exactly, but if somebody were to warn their neighbor about the the saber, tiger, or the any dangerous animal lurking about, they would probably imitate the sound of the animal, before they gave it a name. So, and then if you look at the beginning of creation, like you look at the Big Bang Theory, in the Rig Veda, it speaks of, in the beginning there was silence and nothing but silence, but we can't comprehend silence and we can't comprehend nothingness. Our minds can't comprehend that. But the verse goes on paraphrasing, within this nothingness curved unto itself. And then the first appearance of everything was this big explosion, or the sound, they call it primordial sound, or Om. So from there, everything sprang forth. Everything is vibration. Even the chair we're sitting on, the technology we're using, it's all based on vibration. So I think sound is really, it's a, core ingredient of the universe, Let's take, for example, science of mantra, right? Or if you look at India studied the science of sympathetic resonance in very, very deeply. If you look at sitars, for example, they have sympathetic strings under the main strings that you don't play. Sarod has, sitar has anything from 15 to, sarangi has 40. Sarod. So they don't actually play, but they tune to the main string. So the theory is, if you pluck the one string and that string behind it is tuned to the same vibration, it will vibrate. And if you come to my house, I can show it to you. I can put a piece of paper on my guitar string, play a note on my flute, and that paper will vibrate, or even fly off the string. I can show you this because it's sympathetic resonance. Mantra, mantra yoti, that which frees your mind. These mantras are basically sound vibrational formulas. They're not prayers as such. Even if the mantra might use the word Ram or Shiva, it doesn't that necessarily means the calendar figure. Those words have certain vibrational qualities. That's why we have beach mantras. Beach seed mantras, which is Om Shrim, Hrim, Klim, they don't have literal meaning, but they are very, in fact, yogis tell you, please don't chant it unnecessarily at any time, because these are very powerful. So coming back to your question, sound does affect our body. Because if everything is vibrational, if you utter a word, or if I play a note on my flute, there's something around me which is the same frequency. I don't know. And there's so many things around me, trees, flowers, bees, rocks, all kinds of things. Something's going to vibrate. So imagine if you grow up with certain sounds, beautiful sounds, sounds that obviously they're going to enhance you. So definitely it affects you as a person, it affects your person. In fact, I often say that ragas, for example, or certain music can change your chemistry. I mean, you can feel it literally, right? I mean, you feel a certain way, you listen to a piece of music, it just changes your chemistry. Like if you listen to Gregorian chant, right? You can feel that, the bhav of that. I don't understand Latin, but when I listen to these Benedictine monks from 13th, 12th century, when they chant in this Gregorian chant, which is very specific, like Vedic chant, they have a specific, you feel, when you walk into a cathedral and you listen to a hymn sung by a really beautiful choir, I don't understand Latin, but it's that sound that, if you look at Sanskrit language, if I say Shanti or Rudra, it even encapsulates the feeling, because sound is so crucial. So like you say, in Africa, you just feel that vibration, even when people are talking. Hey, come on, hey, Azit. Yeah, it's that rhythm, everything is, is kind of contained. All that spirit, all that happiness, all that joy, is all, entwined in the language, in song. In folk music, you have like this dhadra tal, ding tak, ta ding krak tak ding tak, ta ding tak, ta ding tak, ta ding tak, ta ding. So in Africa, you get the same thing, but the emphasis is just a little bit ding tak tak 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 ding tak tak. If you step outside your house in wherever you live, and there's somebody, with a jackhammer breaking the road to pull something, right? And you hear that noise, tang, 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 or somebody's knocking nails in a wall, tang, 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 and like random sounds, it drives you crazy. That's not music. But the moment the guy takes a hammer and starts knocking the nail in a very, like, tak, 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 and the guy with the machine, now, in a word, when you take sound and you organize it with certain aesthetics or certain rules, that music becomes music. In Europe, they have what they call the devil's triad. So in Gregorian chant and in church music, they use basically two scales. What in reference what we call Rag Kafi and Rag Bhairavi. All those hymns are in that. But if you take a certain interval that we use, like in Rag Yaman, Rag Madhavanti, they called it the devil's interval. Because people felt that interval will make people passionate and lustful. So that's how much people gave emphasis to sound 12th century. So this interval, wasn't allowed. Honestly, not lovely. So if I'm choosing a rhythm, for example, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. So if I choose a garba with din, tak, 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 din, tak, 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 same 3 notes. So like that in music, so that permutation becomes that added quality of tonality, dynamics, volume, and I do these like 3 sounds, doom, ka, doom, ka. Just learn these 3 sounds, and then when you do 4, doom, 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 doom. Here's a feeling, right? Because you can feel it, it's 4, but if I still do 5, you'll feel a little awkward. Emotionally, something like doom, 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 doom. If I do 7, doom, 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 and if I do 3, you'll identify with it because the region where you come from in India, there are 2 rhythms. Like one rhythm my wife can sing so well, which is complicated. It's 14/8. So this, the one in Gujarat, then the one I'm talking about is Diptandi. Dha din, dha da tin, da din, dha da din. There's so many Gujarati folk songs in this rhythm, and it's a 14-beat rhythm. If you teach a Western jazz guy that he'll struggle for a bird because it's not necessary. Yet my wife can sing a bunch of songs in that. So that's how rhythm basically was imposing emotion or dividing silence. I like to put it, how do you divide silence? When I joined academics in South Africa, when I started studying Western music, you put the piece of music in front of you, written by somebody else. You practice it for so many months. Now you're playing a concert. You may not be in line or in tune with it, but you know it so well, so it's like an outside task. You know what I'm saying? It's like you put this thing, it's an activity outside yourself. Whereas like in Indian music or African music or, it's like, well, I don't know what raga I'm going to play before the concert. I sometimes know when I'm leaving the house, but once I'm in the Uber, it changes. Sometimes it changes when I get to the hall. So it's how I feel, what I want to express, and that's what people will feel subliminally. Rather than, it's an outside activity. Everything is outside. Music is not outside. All the songs I heard in my hometown during Garba time, because I used to go to Garba at age 14, 15. And then, used to hear, some of the melodies are so gorgeous and I want to record. There's this famous Hori song. So people ask me, what inspires you? Do you like the nature, full moon night? I mean, those things are gorgeous. They're beautiful. They're part of our lives. But that, for me, my inspiration comes from the sound itself, the music itself. You close your eyes and that, because like I studied, my first guru lived in the slum. And if you look at Dharavi as 1-star accommodation, I stayed in 1.5-star accommodation for 2 years in my Guruji's house with 9 people. It was you can't imagine that place, but there were painters in that building, visual artists, they were sculptors. And that kind of, that romantic idea, artist hai, I love in the forest, some ghar ke samne samudra hai, and I'm inspired, poetry aa gaya, full moon. No, this is a slum. People are struggling. People got typhoid. There's cholera. There's TB. You sit in there with your guru and you learn in something so profound, so beautiful, that beauty is not outside. It comes from the art itself and it comes from inside. The painters from JJ Art School were living there. I mean, JJ School of Arts, Bombay. There were 3-4 painters living in the same building. They would create these beautiful works. And that really opened my mind. I said, this romantic idea, if you want to do music and art, you have to live in certain surroundings. That just left. I think subconsciously that you left a huge impression. That's why today I don't care where I stay. I mean, I can live anywhere. I don't think there's any other country who loves music more than this country. There's just like music everywhere. And I think maybe it's part of that psyche. It's like, it's a celebration of something beyond you that's so powerful. There's more to this physicality and our thoughts than, and maybe India still has, Sadhguru always, a lot of gurus talk about that. They'll say, you go to the villages and you'll still hear words like mukti, prarabdha and all that. People, even the village will know, I want mukti. Not I want to go heaven or something. I want mukti. I want freedom from compulsion, freedom from desire. Everybody's built in there. I thought, Pandit Ravishankar says it nicely. He says, when he's playing his sitar, he said, every note of every note of every raga of our music contains in it thousands of years of spiritual search. You can feel it in there. And he's playing it out, he's talking at this in Banaras, Varanasi, And you can see that place, like you go there to Varanasi. I mean, it looks chaotic and dirty and all that. But there's something there so that's part of India, and which is, I don't think you can't get rid of. I mean, that's going to be there for a while. It's not, it's becoming modern and all that, but I don't think you can take that away from India.